Hey guys, HellsF1rst here, back with another Corepunk video. Tonight, we're going to talk about who we think is going to be the best tank come Corepunk when it actually is released. Now, we got a long ways in front of us, and I've shown you guys every single one of these classes before, but we're going to go over the three that, from everything I can tell, are the best. Number one is going to be the Legionary. I'm not saying it's going to be the best. I'm saying this is the one we're going to talk about. So, Legionaries obviously are going to help with that spear and shield. You know, they can smash the enemies up front, dealing some physical damage, knock the enemies back, make them vulnerable. You know, and then if the enemy's casting a spell, it gets interrupted. So, it's got an interrupt, right? That's key for a tank. But not only tanks should have it. I mean, this right here, knocking the enemy back might not be what you want as a tank, because it might move it out of the way of the other DPS that are melee DPS. But it still could help to push it away from your backline guys, you know, the ranged characters, the casters, so on and so forth. On top of that, I don't know about this throw the nearest ally or enemy to a target doing all that much for tanking. I mean, it takes damage and stuns all vulnerable enemies within the landing area, but it's not going to help when tanking. I mean, it might help with pulling and yanking it, and then it might be able to knock it back when it gets to you. I mean, the more and more we look at this, Legionary's probably going to be more of an off tank. It's going to be there, and it's going to help, but it's going to be pulling, and it's going to be, I mean, in a raid, its main job is probably going to be to pull and to keep the aggro of whatever it pulled for a second before somebody else can grab it off him to really tank the mob. Then if you got the E, right, he throws a spear in a target direction, gains extra range and damage the longer it goes, or the longer he prepares to throw it, you know, and then it's doing all damage to every enemy in its path again. This just makes more sense to me as a puller, right? So he throws the spear through, hits everything in the way, grabs the first guy, throws it all the way back towards another mob, pulls them all in, right? That's what's going to happen. And then the crowd control effects on themselves for 5 seconds being removed. It's pretty cool. Take reduced damage and bonus movement speed and crowd control reduction. I mean, it's built to be a puller. That's all I see here is a puller. And they gain 5 armor and 5 magic resistance for 10 seconds, up to 5 times. So they do get a big chunk of 25% on either one of those that helps. And but it's put right back into bonus attack power. Right? So I don't see it as a main tank, but I do see it as an off tank. It's definitely not worthless. It's definitely going to be a pretty good deal to have. And I don't think anybody's going to not want to play it. In fact, I know a couple people in my guild are definitely going to play it, and they're super excited for it. And it's going to be fun. And it's really going to be fun in PvP. But in PvE, it'll be fun, but not the best at tanking. Off tank, though, I guarantee you I'll have at least one of these in every single one of my raid groups. So the next one we're going to talk about is the Crusader, right? The Crusader, you'd think would be the embodiment of a tank, right? Like, he would make the most sense to be the tank. So, you know, he flings the chain in a direction, does physical damage, and first enemy it hits, drags them back. That's kind of cool. Once again, I kind of think that'll be more fun for PvP, pulling it into a group, or maybe as a puller, but it's not going to do as good a job at pulling as just playing unless it's a mage character that he's trying to pull, or some sort of spell casting or ranged beast or mob or whatever it is to yank it towards the group to kill it faster. That I could see, but I don't know how great it will be. Then you've got the charge ability, and you can't use any other abilities, launch basic attacks and move, but they charge for 2 seconds and trigger an explosion, which hits everything. Explosion will occur instantly, and damage dealt will depend upon the time of the use. Now, this will be great to gain aggro, which I guess the chain up here could also be used for as well, is to pull it back off one of your guys trying to run away. Like, say you got a pyromancer back there blasting the shit out of something. You're going to want to get it off them. You yank it back with that chain, then blast with something, bring it back. Then you've got the blocking. This is This is more of a tank ability than the Legionary had. But the Crusader raises their shield, blocks the first attack or ability. If the damage has been blocked, the Crusader can recast the ability, right? So this makes sense for going after those huge beasts, right? Like what we saw in the trailer, the first trailer at the end, that little tank thing that's spinning around. I bet you a Crusader could take that much better than a Legionary could, right? Because he's just going to be able to, it's like a counter, like a repost. You know, you're just doing it more and more and more. Then it slows everything that's affected by them as well and does damage to all of it as well. I mean, that's a good ability. That's probably one of the best abilities they have. But then you got the R, right? Creates a field on the ground. All enemies trapped in the field can't use teleporting or dashing abilities. All allies take reduced damage and the enemy across the border. They will be disarmed and take magic damage. And when all of you and your allies cross, you gain bonus movement speed. And they can stack 10 marks and stun the enemy for 2 seconds. So, I think the Crusader, decent little deal. I don't know, I'm just not feeling it as the best tank. I still think Legionary would be a better tank than the Crusader. Now, the Crusader, like I said, he's going to have his moments. He's going to be that, all right, we're going to go fight something big right now. You guys need someone good? Hey, call the Crusader. Bring him on in. And he's going to run up in there, and he's just going to put his fucking shield up and not let anything get through. If he's skilled. That's going to be a game of timing, though. That's as skill shot as it gets for a tanks. So, let's continue, shall we? The last that we're going over here of the tank classes would be the Defender. So, the Defender this is a tank. This feels like a tank. So it can empower attacks with a Q, right? And 7 seconds permits them to hit the target with a powerful strike, physical damage, and after the empowered strike, it buffs themselves. And this reduces damage for 3% for magic and just normal armor. And the last 10 seconds stacks up to 5 times. So that's 15% on each right there just from using the Q. Sick. Then his W, throw a shield at the target. If it hits the target, it bounces at enemies several times and does physical damage to all of them, and it stuns the first target. Great for PvE and PvP. I like this better than the Legionary and the Crusader's abilities. I don't know. The Legionary's ability to throw someone is pretty incredible. But, you see what I'm saying? Then you've got the E. Jumps to a target location, dealing physical damage, and landing taunt all enemies for 2 seconds. Out of the other two we talked about, out of all 3 of these, the only one that said taunt is this one. And taunt is like the number one thing you need as a tank, right? Keep the hate. Keep the aggro on yourself. They are going to have aggro meters and stuff like that, which is going to be really nice. But this is the only one that says it. Now, they've also explained that taunting is not what you should rely on to keep aggro in this game. It's just going to help. They said there's going to be items and gear that you could use to completely compensate for not having a taunt. I mean, who knows? We could see some shamans out there taunting some shit with their pet, but I wouldn't consider them a full tank just yet. We don't know, though. I mean, there's other games where summoners have some pets that can out-tank the tanks, as long as they're geared the right way. So, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves right now. We're starting to speculate, but right now, this one sounds the most like a tank. Then let's jump to the R, raise a shield, reflect incoming damage back to an enemy. He's still able to move while reflecting the damage, right? And it becomes immune to crowd control and damage. They also create an area behind their backs where the allies take reduced damage. Okay. The absolute best tank. This is number 1. In my ability, this would be the absolute number 1. Oh, and he gains bonus armor and magic resistance for each enemy within 3 meters around the Defender. This is the best. So it's going to go this way. It's going to go Defender, right? Then we're going to have Legionary as an off tank. And your Crusader is just going to be that we might need you to run this for us. Maybe. But I doubt it. I think Crusader's just going to get left in the dust. And they're probably going to have some balance changing going on because I don't think that's where they want it. But right now, Defender with a Legionary as an off-tank, that should be every raid group. Done right there. And then you have everybody else come up behind them. So that's what I think is going to happen. And as far as PvP is concerned, I'm going to go ahead and say Legionary is the best at that. The Defender, probably pretty good because of the stun and the ability to jump to a location. And reflecting the damage could become pretty huge, especially if you're standing behind them. Yeah, so I'll say Defender second again. Crusader is third. Well, not again, but you know what I meant. So Legionary is the second at PvE. And for PvP, Defender is second. Fucked myself up there for a second. So that's what we think, guys. I hope you are just as excited as I am. Toss in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think I'm wrong on any of this, or if you think maybe some characters I missed that could be considered tanks. Because at the moment, these are the only three I'm seeing. And as always, I'm HellsF1rst. And until next time, ta-ta.